snowy day today, but I'm going to be introducing a special project which is long overdue. I'm going to do a new cheese slicer prototype. I know a lot of people have been asking me about this particular item, and I started redesigning it about a year ago around the same time, and my previous design had some flaws which I had to work out, and in order to do that I had to have some parts custom made. So that took considerable time because I had to, find a source for custom made stainless steel parts and then go through the process of ordering this stuff and getting it all together. But here it is. I had these custom made thumb screws, just the right size, and I could never find this part for any kind of reasonable price, and I had to buy a whole bunch of them. But that's going to be part of my tensioning mechanism, and I also had these stainless steel spacers custom made, and these are integral to my magnet drive. And I'm going to be making the cheese slicer two different ways in this prototype video. I'm going to make one like you saw before with the hinged mechanism and the sled. But I will also do a handheld model, which I'm going to test out to see how this device works just freehand. And all the parts here are stainless steel, except for the magnets, which are plated with nickel. But I wanted to make a cheese slicer with as much stainless steel as possible to satisfy the food code requirements if I wanted to, sell this as an item, or if you wanted to sell it. I bought this stainless steel bar remnant from a metal seller on eBay, and I'm going to use this to test out a new cheese sled design with the magnets and this 2-inch ball knob. And so I'm going to test that out after I get my first prototype done. But I just wanted to show what a complete kit would look like and the router bits and drill bits that I'm going to use to make my first prototype. So I'll just go over that now. I got a 3/16 roundover, which is going to make the roundover on the knife to smooth out all those edges. I got these router bits on eBay as factory overstock. So these two large Forstner bits I use to make the pattern for the template. It's faster to cut an inside curve with the right size drill bit. Otherwise I have to freehand it and then do a lot of fine-tune sanding to get it close to that curve. But I can do a better job and a faster job with just using a drill bit. But you don't have to have these large bits. You can do it a different way if you don't have them. And the rest of these bits are used to make the knife. But I just wanted to show all the bits that I'm going to use in this video and the next video so that you can get set up for it. Okay, so my cheese slicer templates are complete and ready to go into action. So this template right here is represented by what I have drawn in my diagram. And this screw, which holds the wood to the template, is also going to mark the location for the magnet drive. This one I made a little bit shorter, and it's not going to have the magnet drive because it's going to be the handheld model. So I didn't want to put a screw hole into my cheese knife, so I added this little extra tab onto the template. So this is going to cut the pattern and go around this little tab, and then I'll have to cut the tab off when I have the pattern complete. And I know a lot of people have been asking me about how to build a cheese slicer and when am I going to post the plans and how do I buy the hardware. So I got everything together, I just haven't done a prototype yet, but I'm fairly confident that it's going to work because it's based on my previous design, which I tested thoroughly, and I just tweaked a few things, which hopefully will make it work better. But you can buy the kit, and I have 3 different kits here to make the cheese slicers, and I'm going to sell these separately on one listing to make it simple. But you can make the cheese slicer a bunch of different ways. You can make the hinged model, you can do it freehand, or you can invent your own contraption. Essentially, all you need is this tensioning mechanism, and I have one of these assemblies complete here. And this was complicated to build. I'm going to show how I did this in my next video, and I'm going to sell the wooden part with the kit. I made 50 of them to test out my first production run. I wasn't sure if they were going to be strong enough, as you see it here. There's a square nut that fits inside that slot. And so this took considerable effort in setup. A bunch of different steps. And I spent all day making 50 of these. I had to work out some problems because working with small parts always takes more time, and the setup time for the machines has to be done just right. So I had to problem solve a lot of things to make those parts, and so they were labor intensive, and I wasn't really thrilled about it. Ideally this part should be made out of stainless steel, but I bought all this other stuff and kind of overspent, so I didn't really have the option of having another part custom made, because this was custom made, this is custom made, and everything is stainless steel, so it's not exactly cheap. So I'm fairly confident this will work though, but in the future I will probably redesign this so everything can be stainless steel and not labor intensive. But I did 50 tension mechanisms to kick off the first edition cheese slicer kit, and so you can buy this kit now to get ready. I'm going to post my DeltaCAD plans on my website so you can download the plans and use it to design your own cheese slicers if you wish. So let me just go over this tension mechanism real quick. This is how the wire gets assembled. And it's not cut to length yet, I just did it as a test. So the wire fits in here. It's kind of difficult to do with one hand. So the wire fits in there like that. And then there's another hole at the other end. And that's what holds the wire in and keeps it taut. So this is the adjustment mechanism. It's going to fit inside a channel that goes all the way through the cheese slicer knife. So these are the 3 kits that I'm going to make available for sale on eBay. The tension mechanism kit will build the knife with an extra wire, and the wooden tension mechanism requires an additional step. I have these extra maple strips that are going to glue on like that. And so I already spent enough time making these, I just can't do the final step. But you have to put the nut in there. I show it in my video. I did a couple. Here's one that's complete. So you can't see the nut, but it's inside there. And so this ended up a little bit thicker with the shims glued on. So I'm no longer going to include the 7/16. I'm going to use the 15/32 to cut out that channel. And that's also the same bit to recess this washer. So I'm eliminating one drill bit, which might help things a little bit. I'm adding the 1/8 inch brad point because this was really useful for making these templates. That makes a very clean, crisp hole for making a pilot for those screws. And this screw is used to secure the wood, and this one is used to mark the center point of that hole. And so having a good quality 1/8 inch brad point bit, which is small like this, is actually very useful for doing precise alignment of pilot holes for making jigs. So this is a very useful bit. It's made by Woodcraft. And so if you want a good quality brad point bit, they're actually hard to find, but Woodcraft has them. They're a little bit more expensive than the cheaper bits, but the quality of the machining and the precision really makes a difference, and you can make a cleaner hole. So this is the magnet drive kit. It includes 1 pot magnet, a stainless steel spacer, and this 1-inch diameter plastic disc, which is sticky on one side, and that sticks right onto the magnet and greatly reduces the friction when those two contact. And so that's just the right amount of friction to make that move freely, but not too freely. So that's how the magnet drive works. And then the rubber feet kit. It includes 5 rubber feet, 4 for the board, and 1 for a stopper that's going to go on the cheese knife. So this is listed separately because you probably already have these rubber feet if you've been buying from me before. So you can make the cheese slicer without rubber feet on the board if you wish. It's just kind of an added option. You can have just 1 magnet drive kit to hinge the cheese knife. You can also add another one to make it swivel. It's the same contraption. If you want to add onto another one onto here so you can make it turn like I did in my last video a long time ago. And I'm also going to use one of these to make my test sled. This is just a rough idea at this point. So it wasn't an easy part to build. And actually I would not recommend that anybody even tries to do this. Just because I had to get my fingers pretty close to the blade. I invented the magic finger as a result of having to make these parts. And this actually ended up being incredibly useful. It's just the right size to fit in the hand like a construction pencil, and I was able to get a lot of dexterity and apply force to kind of unevenly shaped pieces so that I could secure them on my crosscut sled. So this is the first magic finger. I also tested out a new tool that I got on my router table. I got this nifty saw blade hooked up to my router table, and this router spins at a slower speed. I can set it to 10,000 RPM. So I use this to cut very small slits on those wooden parts. So this is actually a metal cutting blade. It's called a slitting saw, and there's very little, if any, set on the teeth. So it can't make a very deep cut. I actually had to make a saw kerf on the inside, on the table saw first, to allow for this thinner blade to fit in. So there's only that little bit exposed there to cut an 1/8 inch deep slit. But it was the perfect tool for the job. Otherwise, I would have to do all that by hand. If you've been yearning for a cheese slicer, now's your opportunity to get the first edition kit with the wooden handmade tension adjuster. I only made 50 of these. I couldn't just make one because the setup is so complicated that it really just makes sense to make at least 50, and then I can gauge the time expenditure a little bit better. So here they are. Buy them while supplies last. I'm going to list 50 kits on eBay. I have the magnet drives in abundance, and of course the rubber feet are ready to go. So I'll be working on the sled design in an upcoming video and doing the prototype. So, cheese.